for this pool here, it has the Hayward. Now, what I use for my hose, it's an old piece of like a creepy hose from a creepy crawly. And you can buy a section of this at the store. They come in little sections. So I just use this. But it's great for the Hayward pumps because I don't have to tape anything. Take your plugs out. Don't forget, take your plugs out. Any pump you have should have two of them. The Hayward has one in the front and then one over to the side. Different pumps will have two on one side. One will be in here and one will be back here. There's like two chambers in any of the pumps. So you have where the basket part is and then where the impeller is. So you want to drain both of them. Take both plugs out. Clean your basket out. So you're going to drain that. Then we're going to keep everything together. So we're going to put everything in the basket, and then we're going to put the basket back in here. We'll put the lid back on so we're not losing anything. So I can push that and it just fits right in the fitting on this 1.5 inch fitting. It slips right inside there, so it's not going to come out. I use, this is called a gizmo. It can be different colors, but for an in-ground pool skimmer, you need the long one. Okay, now if you have a short one that's about this big, it's the wrong one. You need one that's longer. There's a 1.5 inch here that I've already Teflon taped. This is the 2 inch, so it depends on what skimmer you have and what the plumbing is. So for this plumbing here, it's 1.5 inch, so I'm going to use this one and Teflon tape. Just gives it a little bit of extra so it doesn't, the water doesn't get in. You have an O-ring here, extra protection from water getting in. And this gizmo here has the hole straight through, so it's easier to blow out. And I don't have to drop the water down on my pool. And I'll show you what I use for the jets also. So I know it's 100% sealed, because if you drop your water down below and then you put your plugs on, water's going to fill it back up, rain, everything else through the winter. How do you know it's 100% sealed? You don't. This way, what I'm going to show you with the plugs, if we blow the lines and we stop it and we see little bubbles coming up, then I know water's getting back in. I have to redo it. So this is like, we know it's 100% sealed. And same with the gizmo. I put a little bit of Teflon tape about 4 or 5 times around. Put it in. Now every pool is going to be different. This pool does not have a main drain whatsoever. So even if it had a main drain, sometimes when they build it, it goes from there underneath and it should go into the front here. But we don't have a main drain, so it's plugged off when they built it. Sometimes you might have a main drain and it goes right back to your equipment. So that way you can blow the lines. So we're all set up for that, and we're just going to blow the lines for this. For the skimmer, you can use a shop vac because the hole's so small. It's probably maybe 3/4. Just the pressure alone it will come right out. I'll show you in a second here. I have it all set up. Now this here, if you want to look for it, it's a Mighty Vac. It's meant for closing pools. So I've had this for probably about 18 years or so. So you can maybe find them. If you have a shop vac, it has to be pretty powerful. Like the cyclone power of this is amazing. If we had a main drain that came to the front of the pump, now your stuff might go to the skimmer, it might branch off, it might go to the main drain. Now if you try to use a shop vac for a main drain from here, and you blow it out to there, and if you don't see all the bubbles just like a volcano, then it's not powerful enough. So you're gonna have to get a blower, maybe a leaf blower, set something up, leaf blower, maybe a gas powered one. If you can blow those bubbles right up from the deep end, now you have enough power. So here we have it all set up. We're going to be turning it on and I'll show you what it looks like with the Ultra Gizmo. Let it run and run and run. So you see all the mist coming out? So go around and do everything else you have to do around your pool. Clean up, move stuff, whatever, get ready for the cover. We want all that mist to go away. Once in a while you'll get blip, blip, blip. But just, you want to keep on blowing it out as much as you can. Do other stuff. Anything that comes in the front, that's your suction. So it could be a bottom main drain, could be a side drain, could be the skimmer. Okay, so we blow that, we've blown all that out because I only have the skimmer. If you have other things like a side drain, you might have 3 cutoffs here. You might have a ball valve here, splits off, and then splits off here. Now, if I was blowing these, I'd blow one at a time. I would shut these 2. See, all 3 are open right now. So I'd keep this one open and shut the other 2. And then just blow each one. And then shut that one when I'm done. Open that one. Keep those 2 closed, so on and so on. Here we have the main drain, and we have 2 skimmers in this pool. This is the north skimmer, south skimmer. You can see where I've written it down. You have to do it so often because it just fades away because of the sun. Just so you know which one you're going to turn off. You can always mark it. Put tape, duct tape, or whatever you have to do. You can indicate each one. Even if you're trying to figure out if you're new to this and you're not sure, just figure out which suction is and then just mark each one. So you just got to deal with each one. Just shut off, do the next one, do the next one. Here it comes out. This is really basic pool equipment here. So discharge, okay. Now this one here, the way I like to do it for in the future too. If you watch a bunch of my other videos, I do not like clamps like this. I don't like bar fittings. I do not like clamps. That's just a failing point. I just don't like them at all. So when I run into this, I've never closed this pool before. So for next year, instead of changing this out, what I do is I'll just cut it here, and then next year I'll put a union in here. That way I can just disconnect here for next year, move it out of the way, and I can just blow the lines out. But for today, I'm going to cut it right about here because it's more of a straight, and this is an old pipe, so I don't want it on an angle here. I mean, you could, but just easier going about here. Even if you do a sand change, at least you just have to disconnect it here. Like here, they don't have a union. And if they ever do a sand change, you know, I'd cut it right about here and put a union in here so you can just disconnect it and move all this out of the way. Same as with this backwash, it goes into the ground. I'd put a union right about here. If you have a Hayward filter like this, see this backwash here doesn't have a shut off, a ball valve. Hayward heads like this, the dial filters always fail. Always. If you think you're losing water, first thing, if you have one of these filters and you think you're losing water in your pool, first place you're going to look, backwash. Now, if you have it laid out like this goes out buried and it goes into the bush over there. So you would have to walk over there. I've already checked it because they always leak. When it's running, go over there and take a look, see if you see anything. If it's ever leaking out of here while it's running on filter, put a ball valve in here. You can just shut it off. So you just turn it on every time you go to backwash or waste or whatever. Okay, so for this here, what we're going to do is we're going to cut this. The filter, we're going to change it to recirculate. Now, if you have a different filter, you might have Whirlpool. So it's going to be recirculate or Whirlpool. What that does is it doesn't go through the sand because I don't want it blowing air through the sand. It just goes through this dial. It just bypasses, just goes right out here and then out through the heater, and I can blow it all out. Here, we're just going to take off drain plug, and I'll show you how to deal with this in a second. But right now, we're going to change this to recirculate. Cut it. I'm just going to get ready to, this is why I like this thing. It'll fit right there, and I'm going to duct tape it. That's done. We're on recirculate. It's going to go straight through. It's going to go through this and out and then through the heater. Before I turn this on, it depends on your pool. Now this is a Raypack heater. It depends how old it is. There's 5 million heaters out there, but all heaters have some drain plugs. For the Ray packs, they're going to be here. It's going to be a plug. It's underneath there. There's one. I would suggest not to move this one. The reasoning for that is the plug in there, it's really hard to take off. I can almost guarantee you when you try to take it off or put it in, you're going to drop it down there. And then you have to take this whole side off. There should be one on the other side.
Most of the manifolds will have one or two on the bottom. Now for the Ray pack, it just has this one right here. So we're going to take that one off, but not right now. We're going to blow out the returns.
Before you start, make sure that power's off. Turn power off to this. Okay, I've seen so many times where you blow the lines. You don't deal with this. You got to turn the gas off. Here's the gas. I'm going to turn that off just in case the pilot's going and it can burn itself off. Make sure that the power's off, this is off, and if you have to, turn the power off where you have to, like the panel. Now, I've seen it where you start blowing the lines out through the heater turns on, no water, but it's because there's a pressure switch in there that thinks there's water going through there. You just created a pressure. It doesn't know it's air. And then the heater turns on, and and it's not good. So make sure the heater's off when you blow the lines on the return side. Okay, so we're going to turn that on and I'll show you the jet side. Now here I have different plugs that I use. This is a duct plug. Now these are a little bit more expensive than these ones here. These ones are called a duct plug. I'm not sure what these are called, I forget. But I'll link it down below if I can, or I'll find a spot. Just send me a message and I'll see if I can search these for you. These are pretty much the best ones, but I do use Teflon tape on both. As you can see, I use Teflon tape on the duct plug. And the idea is for underwater, so you don't have to drop the water. A little bit of Teflon tape. This goes right back to where the fitting is most of the time. And then you have your O-ring. It blows through here. And then when it stops, water can't push back in. If you use this, even if you use it down the road, if you see little bubbles coming out of here, get a new one of the duct plugs. And then the same with this here. The idea is this one here pushes through here. It's like a elastic band. And then this part here comes out, pushes out. And then when you stop blowing the lines, it just collapses back in and seals itself off. And again, if you see any bubbles coming around here, out, or here, you're going to have to redo it or replace it. I'm going to put one on one side, and then we're going to put one on the other jet. Here I only have two jets, so. And then after when it's done, we just cap that off like this. This one here you don't. You see it all coming out. This is the first jet here. The other one's not even coming out yet. So all the water is getting pushed out. When we see bubbles like that, that means it's just air. So we got that one going. Just gotta wait for that one there. It's starting to go now. So it's gradually getting pushed out. So what we want is the same on both sides for a bit. So we want it like that, the same as both sides. If you have 2 or 3 other jet, you might have to cover it with your hand. More pressure on another jet over here. But you want all of them to come out the same. See, both my jets are about equal. I let it run for maybe about 5 minutes or so, just for the 2 jets. Turn it off, we're gonna take this plug off. Wait till all the water's out on that return side and then deal with this. See how much water's in here, because we're not taking out the other side. It's gonna blow it a little bit longer. So that was a really good sign that even though there was like no spray whatsoever, not even a little bit of mist. So that's good. It's really pushed out of there. So you take any plugs you have from the heater, put them in there for the filter. Because we're done with this, we're gonna turn it to close. I just put it in between anywhere. Take the pressure gauge off, and you're gonna take this sight glass off too. After you do that, drain plug. Very important. Too many people crack these in the wintertime. So we're gonna undo this. Get all that water out. Again, plug in there. Sight glass. Watch this. Remember, you have this. Too many people lose these too. So you put that in there. Put that in there. So we're done on this side. So we can turn this to close. I just go in between. We're going to take this off in a second. Then the lid. Any pool you have, do it this way. So next year you're not losing little minor little pieces. Because if you start putting stuff together next year, and then you go, hey, I got some extra part here, and you can't figure out where it goes, and you start it, and then wherever it's squirting out. I've done it on heaters so many times where I get an extra part, and I'm like, I can't even know where that comes from. And then you start it up, and then it comes out and go, oh, there you go, shut it off, put it on. So all the parts in there. So you're not guessing on where things go, and whatever you put in here, you know everything's going to be going back. So for this pool here, I have a Chlorinator for the pucks and stuff. I don't like these at all, but we got to deal with it. Instead, because they're plastic pieces and taking it on and off, if you can, and a lot of people will take these all the way off, like on, off all the time. I don't like really taking them on and off all the time because you're going to break something. Okay, if you kind of leave it, that's fine. You've already blown the lines out. We know there's going to be water in here, okay? So when you're blowing the line out, sometimes there's a plug on the bottom here. I'm not sure if this one has it or not, but sometimes you can't flip these upside down like I'm going to do. We know that there's probably a little bit of air in here, or a little bit of water in here, and a little bit of water in here. What I do is I'll open this up. Okay, took the lid off. Now, if you have a hard time taking these on and off, I think I have I'm not sure. You take apart this and then grease everything all up. I think I have a video on that, how to grease this all up. You take this off, there's a plastic nut in there, take it all apart, grease it all up. So it's way easier taking this on and off all the time. Okay, so what I do is, for this one, see there's water in it? So we blew the lines out. So I know that there's a little bit of water in here. It probably just went in. I take that water there. Flip it upside down, so we know there's probably no water down here. So get as much water out as possible. This is weighted, so no critters can go in there. And if there's any water in here, it'll slide down there. We got most out anyway because we blew the line. So you just don't want the pipe solid. Like, doesn't matter if it's this one here or any pipe. You don't want it solid. Now, underground, if there's a little bit of, there's like maybe the pipe's like this, and there's water in it, it could be full. It's not going to crack anything because it's just going to creep along the rest of it. So on the equipment side, I think we're done for this, and this is so basic. If you have any questions, just put them down below and I'll answer them. But this applies to any pool you have, any equipment. You might have nether pumps, you might have other jets, waterfalls, whatever you have. The biggest thing is you need to blow the water all out, blow the water out, blow everything, all the water out. Like, look over, double check everywhere, like the filters, drain plugs on the pump. Just get all the water out. If you have to shop vac it out, like a cartridge filter, shop it out if you can't get to the bottom plug, because sometimes you can't get to the bottom plug. I have a couple customers that the plug's on the back side, can't get to here, can't move anything out of the way. So I got to shop vac it all out. So do what you can, get all the water out if you're in an area where you don't want anything to freeze, if you're shutting down for the winter time. If you're in Florida or California, don't worry about it.